I think that's it as far as, there was one other, looks like there was an email that was received by Ms. Werner from Holly Benson. I have received that letter as well, and have y'all, I think that's part of what I received
It was
previously.
regarding Victim Impact information, Your Honor.
Okay, perfect. Anything else then that either you want me to review that is in writing that I haven't already stated?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
I only want to confirm that the letters from my client's wife and children and his pastor's church and other church members were included in the PSI. They were included in my copy. I just want to make sure.
Yes,
And I saw those interviews.
they were, and I reviewed those as well.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Mr. Young, I will allow you to proceed.
Thank you. Your Honor, I prepared a brief PowerPoint which largely summarizes the PSI that I'd like to use as an opening statement. This information is gleaned from the investigation, and while it's in the PSI, I know the court has reviewed it. I think it's important for the public forum and for the record to emphasize this.
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Obviously, we're here for the sentencing of Mr. Gomez on these very serious charges. I want to point out some contextual evidence that came out through the investigation by the District Attorney's Office and by our office. But I want to be clear, this is not an attempt to excuse his behavior. It's not intended to do anything other than give the court some context that led to this particular tragedy. First, this entire thing began with a work-related gathering. Mr. Gomez had been in Beaumont only about a month, working for one of the construction pipeline companies, unfamiliar with the area. There was an invitation to go to these different restaurants and places by his supervisors. He felt compelled to go. The report by DPS highlights, they spoke to several witnesses who were co-workers who said this was kind of an after-work gathering where they all went. Of course, once the companies realized the magnitude of what had happened, next slide please, they quit cooperating. Basically, no one would talk to DPS, no one would talk to our investigators. They kind of circled the wagons. I think that lends some credence to the fact that this was something that the companies did encourage the employees to do. The entire matter was investigated by the Texas Alcohol and Beverage Commission. And the first place they went, go back please, was Darla's Taqueria here in town. And from the TABC report, which is introduced into evidence as part of the plea, next slide, they made a determination that Darla's Taqueria had grossly overserved Mr. Gomez, and that it was contrary to basically any public sense of decency. Next slide. The next place they went for the TABC report was Temptations Cabaret. The report details, next slide, the enormous number of drinks he was served, including one where he was served 5 shots at the table and seen to fall down by the waitress, and she still served the drinks at the table. They determined that they clearly overserved an intoxicated person. The big question here that I had when we began this case is, how did he end up going on the southbound on the northbound lane of 69? And he was staying at the time at the AAA RV Park, which is located down here on, I believe it's Old Port Arthur Road. And his route of travel would have taken him from Temptations Cabaret down through that, I believe exiting and going down Old Port Isabella Road. Next slide. Obviously, he missed that exit, and he came down, and there's another way that you can go down 69 southbound to likewise get back to the RV park, and that was his plan at the time. Next slide. The problem is, and soon after we looked at this, investigated it, and they had the GPS data from his phone, he exited, he turned down Martin Luther King, and he came to an area where he would have gotten on the ramp to go up to the southbound lanes of 69.
In this courtroom, silence speaks louder than words. Every breath, every tear carries the weight of a life forever changed. Justice isn't just a sentence. It's a reckoning with choices that can never be undone.
And they wanted you to go around that and get on 69. But when he was confronted with this road closed sign, he took a left, which is what the detour sign seemed to indicate, went down, and then got on the exit ramp for the northbound headed southbound. And it's common here, I've seen it in several places where they have divided what were one-way service roads into two ways, and he assumed that was what happened. Of course, that led him on to the southbound, going southbound and northbound. That's how he got there. Next slide. South Northbound is I want to congratulate the probation department here in Jefferson County. They did an incredible, very thorough, and I think very even-handed and fair pre-sentence report. But a little bit about who Salvador Gomez is that came out through the report. Next slide. He was a military veteran. He was served in the United States Marine Corps, was honorably discharged. Next slide. He's always worked. He graduated high school in 91. He attended the police academy in 1992. He was a deputy sheriff in Cameron County until he had an off-the-job injury where part of one of his fingers was amputated and he could no longer continue as a deputy sheriff. At the time of this, he was employed by ExxonMobil as a piping superintendent. Next slide. He's been confined to a wheelchair since this incident. He's had tremendous injuries. He's going to suffer from those injuries probably for the rest of his life. Next slide. And as the PSI points out, that something we would ask the court to consider is that that does reflect some personal consequence for his actions in this particular case. The PSI and everything we see indicates that he's a very stable, loving father and husband. He's been married since 2001 to the same woman. He has 4 children. He active in his church. There were several letters of support from his pastor and from other members of the congregation included in the PSI. Next one. The probation officer noted that he thinks of the victims daily. He knows the names and has a personal connection because one of them is in very close age to his own children and another shares the same birthday as his daughter. Those are things we'd like the court to consider from the PSI, and we'll have a closing argument later. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nichols, any witnesses? And
Yes, Your Honor, I did call several witnesses.
Sure.
The state calls Christopher Stacks.
What's the last name? I'm sorry.
Stacks.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. If you please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you, sir. You can have a seat. If you'll just pull that microphone close so everybody can hear you. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Stacks, would you introduce yourself to the court? Tell us your full name and what do you do for a living?
Yeah, I'm Christopher Stacks, and I work for Malin. It's a fire safety company.
And how old are you, sir?
I'm 26.
Where were you raised?
Was born in Jacksonville, Florida, raised in Texas.
Where'd you go to high school?
Nederland High School.
And what city do you live in now?
Nederland.
You married?
I was.
When were you married?
About 1.5 years ago.
And who were you married to?
Lauren Stacks.
Lauren Stacks. Also, and her name was what before y'all got married?
Lauren Eisenhower.
And when y'all first got married, where were y'all living?
We were living in Beaumont, about less than a minute from the church.
Which church you talking
The
about?
Apostolic Church.
That's here in Beaumont?
Yes, sir.
Is that where you worship?
Yes, sir.
And is that where you met her?
No, we met, I actually drove up about 10 hours to Fort Smith where she was still going to college.
Tell me what Lauren was doing career in education.
She had just finished her dental hygienist degree, and she had been working, I think, for about a year in that field whenever everything happened.
Did she move down here when y'all got married?
We were working on it. She was still finishing a contract where she lived in Murfreesboro.
Was she looking for work?
One wrong turn, one night of drinking, One decision that ended 2 lives and shattered a dozen more. Behind every verdict, there's a moment that can't be taken back, and a road that never should have been driven.
I came home from work, had a long day. We had planned to have a date night, but her and Camille had been texting all day, her and little friends.
Who did you say she was texting
Camille
with?
Marty.
And Camille Marty, did you know her as well?
Yes, sir.
How did you know her?
That was Boston Carr's fiance.
She was engaged to a friend of yours,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Carr?
Yes, sir.
And did they also attend y'all's church together?
Yes, sir.
And so you said she'd been texting Camille and some other friends. What were they doing that evening?
They were planning to have a little girls' night at Lindsay Chandler's house, and they were just going to hang out and do whatever girls do, I guess.
Where did Miss Chandler reside?
They lived in Port Arthur.
Okay. When was the last time you saw her?
That night, or that evening, afternoon. So it was about, I would say 4 o'clock. She cooked me dinner, and we talked for about an hour, and then she went on her way.
Do you know what time she left to go to her friend's house?
I want to say it was like around 5 or 6.
After she left, did you have communication with her that night?
Yes, sir, we texted.
And she went to Miss Chandler's house?
Yes, sir.
And do you know what they did there?
I believe they swam. I know they left the house at some point and went and got snacks at H-E-B, the couple stores, I can't remember which ones, and they went back to the house after that.
Now, Lauren and her friends, did they drink alcohol?
Yes, sir.
Any of them do drugs?
Yes, sir.
Is there any kind of partying going on?
Yes, sir.
Swimming and hanging out at the house?
Yes, sir.
When was the last time that you heard from her?
I believe I fell asleep around probably 11 or 12.
And had she texted you at that point?
Yes, sir. The last text, I believe, was that she was coming home to see me soon and that she loved me.
In the early morning of June 14th of last year, did you realize something was wrong?
Yeah, I woke up and it was probably, I want to say 1:30 or so. I can't remember the time stamps, but I woke up and she hadn't texted for a while. I had her location on my phone.
And so at that point when you woke up, did you expect her to have been home by then?
Yes, sir.
Was that unusual for her to have been out that late with her friends?
Never.
You stated you could follow her location on your phone. Were you able to do that?
I was, but it had her in front of the prison or the jail for like an hour or so when I looked and I saw that. Maybe it was an hour, I can't remember for sure, but
It wasn't moving, was it?
it wasn't moving.
So what did you do?
I immediately threw clothes on and got on the road
And you're driving from where?
from Beaumont.
As you got close, did you realize something bad had happened?
Yeah, so when I turned that curve going on 69, I saw a lot of,
You saw lights?
yeah, I saw the lights.
Chris, when you pulled up, could you tell there had been a car crash?
I knew there was something wrong.
Can you tell Judge what you did see when you pulled up?
I couldn't see much because it was the median was in the way, but I turned around on the underpass and I saw there was a cop that stopped me. I guess he was directing traffic. And I asked him, I said, "Has there been a wreck?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "My wife, her location is right there." And so he let me through. I drove through and I was stopped about probably 100 yards from the spot of the accident. And I couldn't remember exactly what was asked or what I said, but he basically told me, I showed him my phone, I showed him the location, and they couldn't even tell who it was or who was in the vehicle or anything because the bodies were just.
There was a burning car at the scene.
You can feel it. the grief, the disbelief, the quiet anger. Families sit in rows, holding photos, holding memories. The man in the chair took their tomorrow, and now they watch justice take his.
Passenger seat.
This is a dumb question, Chris, and I'm sorry to ask it. What's this done to you?
It's affected me in every single aspect of my life.
How long has y'all been married before she died?
Only 19 days.
I'm sorry you have to be here, Chris. I'm sorry all these people that are in court have to be here. You and I spoke about this case, the legal side of it, and what can possibly happen. What are you asking Judge West to do today?
I think the only thing that can be done is the maximum sentence. I think that's the only way that any kind of healing can be done. Just on my end and from the 1,000 lives that were affected by this senseless tragedy.
Thank you, Chris. I'll pass it to Sharon.
Any questions? Thank you. Let me call your next witness.
State called the Boston car.
Good morning, Mr. Carr. You swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. You can have a seat.
He says he's sorry. He says he wishes it were him. But sorry doesn't bring back the dead. The law doesn't heal the heart. It only reminds us what's been broken.
My name is Boston Carr, and I live in Beaumont, Texas. And I work for Bierce Industrial, an industrial sales company.
And how old are you, sir?
I'm 22 years old.
And, well, back in June of 2024, were you engaged to be married?
Yes, sir, I was.
And who are you engaged to be married to?
Camille Marty.
And how did you meet Camille?
I met Camille in right during COVID at a church conference in Sebastopol, Mississippi. She was from North Carolina. I was from Beaumont, Texas, so it was a pretty unlikely meetup, in the middle of nowhere, Sebastopol, Mississippi.
And I take it y'all hit it off.
We did. It's a hilarious story that I was in the altar in the worship service, and she was in the altar in the worship service, and we saw each other in the altar, and we probably made eye contact 20 times in the worship service in the altar. And after service, I made sure to say hi to her.
And at what point did y'all become engaged and married?
We got engaged in March of 2024.
Now, what was Camille doing as far as work and education at the time of her death?
She had just finished nursing school. She had graduated that May.
And had she moved down here?
Yes, she graduated in May, and after graduation, my family went to a graduation in Mississippi and moved all of her things down to Beaumont. And she lived in Beaumont for 2 or 3 weeks before the accident.
Now, church is pretty important to you and your family, isn't it? Tell me why you're so connected with the church.
The church is my life. My father is the pastor of the Apostolic Church in Beaumont, and everything I do on a weekly basis revolves around my faith in the church.
And you are friends with Christopher Stacks, correct?
Yes, sir.
And y'all had this friendship, and both were starting your families together at the same time. Is that correct?
Yes.
And y'all had brought your fiance and his wife into y'all's church family.
Yes.
Were they embraced by that church?
Absolutely. They were loved by everyone. And that's an understatement.
Is it fair to say that most of these folks behind me are church members?
Yes, sir.
That are here to support you and Christopher and the Eisenhower and the Marty families, and Lauren and Camille.
Yes. Most of the church family.
How did you find out that Camille had been killed?
I was.
When the judge's voice breaks the silence, it's not just a ruling, it's a mirror. Every word reflects the cost of a choice made in seconds and the years that must now be paid in return.
You said the girls got in an accident, and my first thought was that they had to be okay. There was no way something like that could happen. And I immediately asked, are they okay? What hospital are they at? You know, what ER are they in? And all my dad could say was, they didn't make it. And all I could say was no. Just no, no. And I jumped out of bed and I still just couldn't believe it. There's no way. And I got dressed as fast as I could and I ran downstairs and I didn't know what I could do. I thought there was something maybe I could do. And my dad just told me, he said, Bubba, there's nothing you can do. There's nowhere you can go. Can't do anything.
And since this has happened, how's it affected you, Boston?
I had begun building my life with Camille and my life plans and our life that we were building together and we had just begun to build together was just taking off. And the one thing that I thought I had done right in my life was deciding to marry Camille. And with that gone, I feel so lost in like this life that I was supposed to have has been taken away from me.
I'm asking the same question that I asked Chris. What do you want to see happen here today?
Full sentencing underneath the law, that's possible.
And that's actually not enough, is it? Nothing can fix it.
I don't believe it is.
I understand. Thank you, Mr. Carter. I'll pass it to you.
No question.
Thank you.
I have no other witnesses to call in punishment, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Mr. Young, do you have any witnesses?
Mr. I will call Salvador Gomez.
All right, Mr. Gomez, if you'll just get them close over here, please. Is it able to step up or no? We can leave them in the chair. Okay. Mr. Gomez, please, the best you can, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Just be sure to speak loudly and clearly into that microphone so everyone can hear you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Young, if you can come up to the podium.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sal, would you state your full name for the judge?
Yes, Salvador Gomez.
And Sal, we reviewed the pre-sentence report and talked about what was in it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do you remember when the probation officer came to speak to you?
Yes, sir, I do.
And included things about your background and your family and things like that. Was all that, correct? You didn't have any changes to it?
That was correct, yes, sir.
There were a couple of things in there I did want to talk to you about. One, you've been in jail continuously since this happened.
That is correct, yes.
And there was something about a jail incident. Can you tell the court what that was? Is that the only incident you've ever had while you're in jail?
Yes.
Well, tell the judge what happened.
Yes, there was rumors
going around in my dorm that I had a TV remote control, which I never did. I don't know exactly what was the deal with that. But I made one of the officers aware that I needed to talk to him and kind of let him know. I said, look, you know how I am and stuff. They're saying I fear this rumor going on. I said, I don't have nothing to hide. You know, it's not true. And
They pray for peace, but forgiveness doesn't come easy. In a courtroom built on truth and punishment, faith is the only thing that still whispers of mercy.
So were you ever disciplined or written up or sanctioned in any way?
no, sir. No, they just,
So that's just something that happened, it's included in here, but you weren't punished, nothing was found?
no, sir, nothing was found. I wasn't punished or nothing like that.
What have you been spending your time in jail doing?
But I've been trying to do whatever I can to get back, basically doing what I've done, like basically walking, a little bit of therapy. I mean, we don't have no therapy or nothing. But like out there in the civilian world, so I just do whatever I can.
Have you been talking to other prisoners?
Talking to other prisoners. I've been mentoring some prisoners there since I'm one of the oldest in my dorm. One of the few older people there in my dorm. So I've been mentoring some younger guys in there, and just helping them out with their troubles in life and stuff like that.
Were you a member of a church before?
Yes, sir, I was. Solid Rock Church.
How long had you and your family been attending the church?
We've been going there for about 20 years.
So in other words, your faith wasn't a jailhouse conversion.
No, sir, it wasn't.
Have you, in that regard, have you done anything with other prisoners as far as talking about your faith and things like that?
Yes, sir, I have.
You and I were talking about having a trial. I want you to explain to the judge, why did you decide to plead guilty?
I decided to plead guilty because of my drinking that night. I caused this accident. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I went down the wrong way and caused this tragedy. I mean, I can't say, I can't say much about it. I mean, I did it. I caused this accident. Caused the hurt to the families that are here. The Eisenhower family, the Marty family. And I mean, that's the reason why, because there's no other, I can't say nothing else. I was in the wrong. My drinking caused this. That's pretty much why.
You talked to me about things that you would hope to do with this tragedy. What are some of those things?
Some of the things that I want to do is bring awareness, more awareness to the drinking and driving. Bring it out there, go to maybe high schools or something before they graduate. Talk to them. I definitely would like to maybe partner with a MAD organization in some way, and somehow I can tell my testimony. One says this would never happen to me. Well, it happened to me, and I would like to bring that more and maybe start in my hometown and eventually come back here to Beaumont and do that in all high schools. Bring the awareness that you never say never, because that's one of the things that used to say is happening. It's just terrible. And I would like to make younger people realize that drinking and driving not good at all.
Now, when we were preparing for the trial, you've never been convicted of a felony anywhere, correct?
That is correct.
So you technically qualify for probation. Are you asking this court for probation?
No, sir, I'm not. I don't think it's appropriate. I'm taking full responsibility for my actions. And that's why I don't think it's appropriate for me to even think about it.
So when the probation officer included all that in the report about, that's nothing you asked for, that's just something they included.
That is correct, yes.
So I think the last thing is, is there anything you want to say to the families of Ms. Eisenhower this morning?
Yes, I will.
Please, go ahead.
To the Eisenhower family, to the Marty family, Mr. Stacks, Mr. Carr, there's nothing.
3. Prior DWIS. 3 warnings ignored. Now the echoes of those choices crash together in one tragic night. Some lessons come too late and cost too much.
The remorse and the shamefulness that I feel about this is unthinkable. Nothing that has happened to me compares to the destruction that I've caused in your lives. I've destroyed your lives. And nothing that my injuries, that doesn't even compare. I can't even fathom what y'all are going through. I really don't. And I've thought about this for over a year. And I just can't come up with a proper thing to say, but what I've said. I don't wish this upon even my worst enemies. Because I know you all are hurting beyond imagination. And like I said, I wish I could do something. But I can't.
Have you asked for forgiveness from your personal Savior?
Yes, I have. I ask for forgiveness for my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I'll have my judgment day with him one day. Trust me. I've said it to myself a bunch of times, and I've said it to him too. Why didn't you kill me instead of them? I would have preferred that. But he did what he did. And I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Pastor.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Nichols?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Gomez, how many DWI convictions did you have before this night?
3.
2 here in Texas and 1 in Virginia, is that correct?
That is correct.
And on those occasions, you were put on probation?
Yes, sir.
And as part of probation for DWI, I'm sure they taught you the risks involved in drinking and driving.
That is correct.
And you learned why it's so dangerous.
Yes, sir.
So you've been through this before.
Yes.
You stated when you were wanting to get out and go speak to kids and teach them about drinking and driving, you wanted to show them that you don't think it can happen to you, but it happened to me. That was your words, correct?
Yes,
It happened to you.
yes.
Not you did this to them, but it happened to you. That's how you see this?
Oh, no, sir.
How old are your children?
27, 21, 20, and 18.
And if, God forbid, they were taken from you because of someone drunk, intoxicated driving, what would you be asking the judge to do?
I will let the justice system look at all the facts and the judge, and for her to decide, for them to decide what is the right thing to do, the right decision.
When you were taking shots at the strip club and stumbling over your chair, what was going through your mind at that point?
Not a whole lot.
And then after that, you decided to get in your truck and drive 20, 30 miles back to where you live off of West Port Arthur Road. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And your evening started at the taqueria in Port Arthur,
Yes, sir.
where you drank 8, 9 beers between 5:30 and 9:30. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir, I think so.
And you left the city of Port Arthur after having had 8 or 9 beers and drove the 30 minutes or so to a strip club in Beaumont. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
And for several more hours, you continued to drink. You took shots and you drank beers.
Yes, sir.
And then after about 12:30, 12:45 in the morning, you got in your truck to drive back to West Port Arthur Road.
Yes, sir.
And you're asking this court to give you some mercy for your choices.
Sir, I'm asking the court to review the facts, and the judicial system, they can make the right decision on what they want to do, sir.
I'm sure they can. Pass, please.
Anything else, Mr. Young?
One question. Mr. Nichols referred to your prior offenses, the misdemeanor driving while intoxicated. When was the last one?
In 2005.
That's the
Anything
No
else?
questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You can step down. Do you have any other witnesses, Mr. Young?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
It's rest.
All right. Mr. Young, you may make argument.
Your Honor, my client recognizes the profound loss that he has caused. And if this was nothing more than about an expression of that loss and devastation on the Eisenhower and the Marty family, it's an easy decision. Just like the state is going to ask for, just like Mr. Carr asked for, it's the maximum. But this court knows that our criminal justice system requires that we look at more factors than that. Because our criminal justice system is about more than punishment or an expression of loss and devastation. This court has a difficult job because you have to distance yourself from, I know, what we all personally witnessed and felt hearing that testimony. The pain that we saw. It's difficult, but our
2 empty seats at the dinner table. Two voices silenced forever. For the families, the sentence will never end, and because grief doesn't serve time.
My client's acceptance of responsibility. He has never once intimated to this court he was not guilty. We were discussing who should do the punishment since day one. He has always wanted to accept responsibility for his actions on that day. And I can tell you from speaking to him, and I think he came through the stand, since I first met him, he has been extremely remorseful about this. He didn't want to talk about the impact on his family who was present here in court, his wife, his children. Because he knows, he told me, don't put them on the stand, because whatever they're suffering is nothing compared to what the Eisenhower and the Marty family is suffering. He understands he's going to prison. That's what's going to happen. It's what has to happen. But he does want to try to do something with this. And as became clear, and it's clear in the PSI, religion has been a big part of his life, and his children's lives, and his family's life. He didn't ask the Eisenhower and Marty family for forgiveness because he knows he can't forgive himself. And he knows there'll be other things that he'll have to answer for in the future. I wanted the court to be aware of some of the factors that led to this. Not because they excuse in any way Mr. Gomez's behavior, nor does he want the court to think excuses his behavior. But to ignore those factors in doing this, two establishments that grossly overserved an intoxicated person, violating the law, violating their commitment to their patrons and to the citizens of Jefferson County, that has to be considered. The ongoing, never-ending, incredibly confusing signage construction that doesn't seem to make any progress only continues to put people, those are things that could cause not simply an intoxicated person, but any of us to end up in that situation going the wrong way. To ignore those factors excuses, endorses, and will not change anything about those things that are impacting the community. I'm only asking this court to look at everything. Balance all the factors. Look at obviously consider the loss and the devastation, but consider the things that contribute to it, my client's remorse, his acceptance of responsibility, and myself and my client, Your Honor, we trust that this court is going to impose a sentence that's fair and just for the parties. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nichols?
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge, you heard how these crimes have ripped two young families apart, ripped a community apart. And yes, as devastated Mr. Gomez's family as well. But they get to see him. They get to visit him. And at some point, he may be released. I'll submit to the court the physical evidence in this case would have been horrendous. And I'm glad we did not have to have the family sit through that. But the magnitude of this crimes, and the loss they caused, I think calls for the maximum sentence allowable under law, Your Honor. Each case is punishable by 2 to 20 years. Under the provisions of Penal Code Section 303B1A, the court can run those consecutively, stacked on top of each other. That is what I'm asking the court to do. 2 maximum sentences with deadly weapon findings stacked on top of each other.
He once wore a badge, served his country. But tonight he faces the same justice he once believed in. A uniform can't protect you from the truth.
I understand there's times for mercy, there's times for compassion, Your Honor, but I think undeserved mercy to the guilty is over cruelty to the victims. And they've been through everyone's worst nightmare. 20 plus 20 is 40, and that's really not enough, but that is the maximum allowed under law, and that's what I'm asking you to do on behalf of the Marty family, the Eisenhower family, Christopher Staggs, Austin Carr, and their entire faith community. The one reason all these people, including the Gomez family, are here in this courtroom today is because of what he did, what he chose to do. And it is a tragedy up and down. And so I'm asking you to protect the citizens of Jefferson County from any chance that this could ever happen again from Mr. Gomez. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. I have a question, Mr. Nichols, with regard to deadly weapon finding. I'm looking at the indictment, and it doesn't read that there's a deadly weapon.
Right, I don't believe it does, Your Honor.
Okay. And it's not something I looked into. Is that something I can still find if the indictment doesn't say it?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that.
Okay. Do y'all know? If it's not, if it's not in the indictment?
The court would have to find, it is permissible without a request, without it being included in the indictment. However, the court would have to point to specific evidence that it was used or intended to be used as a deadly weapon.
Okay.
And I would argue to the court that perhaps, I mean, if there had been other evidence, but there's really no evidence admitted upon which the court could make such a finding, so I would ask the court not to find that. But I will represent to the court as an officer of the court that it is not absolutely required that it be included.
Okay. I really didn't think so. I just wanted to make sure. I would think I guess, Mr. Young, would you disagree with the information that is provided in the pre-sentence report that everyone has agreed that I review, that I could use that as far as, since I've taken judicial notice of that, the letters and everything else, that would be, would you have an objection for me, of me using that if I were in fact to make a finding of a deadly weapon?
Your Honor, I think the court can consider all evidence before the court, and if there is evidence that the court can point to that says this supports the finding of deadly weapon, and obviously we can't contest that.
Okay. First, I really do want to thank everybody for being here. We don't have full courtrooms like this. These, just as both of the attorneys said, these are some of the most difficult cases that any judge has to deal with for many reasons, obviously. Mr. Gomez, had you been in, well, I'm not sure that it would matter, but had you been in here and this was your first DWI, there might be some sense of what your attorney was asking for from me. Which is true. I mean, I have to detach myself from the emotional part, which is, it's impossible, but it's required, and I do the best I can to do that. And there are things about you and your life in the past that are good. There are things that the 3 prior DWIs should have taught you. Your age, you're 52 now, 53 now. You know, it's the 3 DWIs previously, even though they're older and your age, it's not the establishment's fault. Did they violate the law? Absolutely. You're a grown man. Got into a vehicle, and I think it was underrepresented by Mr. Nichols from what I read, that there was at least 12 beers at the first place. And then you drive. I guess we're lucky in some ways you didn't get whatever family was on the road going that direction. and then go falling over yourself at 50-something years old, you know at that point, you know you shouldn't be in a vehicle. You know from your history, you know from your age, you know probably from telling your own children not to drink and drive and trying to probably instill that in them, and you did it, and you did this. So at this time, in cause number 24 DCCR 1651, I'm going to find you entered your plea of guilty freely and voluntarily, find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of intoxication manslaughter with a vehicle. I'm going to sentence you to a term of 20 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Corrections. There will be an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon. I am basing that on all of the information that's presented in both the pre-sentence report, the attached reports from the officers, in addition to the letters from Mr. Stacks, who unfortunately had to drive up and see this in person, from what they had to use to identify these two precious young lives, that there's no way that there is any doubt that you used your vehicle in a manner capable of causing death, and that you in fact did that. In cause number 24 DCCR 1652, I'm also going to find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of intoxication manslaughter with a vehicle. Sentence you to a term of 20 years. There will also be a deadly finding in that case based on the same information and evidence that I used in the previous one. That sentence will run consecutively to cause number 24 DCCR 1651. In cause number 24 DCCR 1653, I'm also going to find that you entered your plea of guilty freely and voluntarily, find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of driving while intoxicated, third or more. Find those prior offenses true. Sentence you to a term of 10 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Corrections. That will run concurrently with the other two sentences. You will receive credit on these sentences for any time that you've been in custody that the law gives you the right to receive. You will be handed in a few minutes the trial court certification that shows that there were not agreements in this case. You do have some rights to appeal. You can talk to your attorney about that. I'm also going to hand you a written admonishment regarding your ineligibility to possess a firearm or ammunition. Because of the judgments entered against you, you're ineligible under Texas law to possess a firearm or ammunition. Firearm is a legal term. You should read that document that I provide you. If you have questions about that, you can also talk to Mr. Young about that. Mr. Young made a great argument on your behalf, but ultimately, there's no getting past your history, your age, and the consequences of what those choices were. I'm sorry to your family for what you did to them. I'm more sorry to the other families for what...
20 years for one life, 40 for two. The gavel falls, the courtroom exhales, but for those left behind, the sound of justice is just another kind of silence.